You are 45. It is 10:47 on a Tuesday morning. You are standing in the kitchen holding a coffee mug you have already refilled twice. The house is clean, too clean. There are no dishes waiting for you, no emails, no meetings, no reason to leave the room. Your phone is face down on the counter. It has not buzzed in 43 minutes. In the open drawer beside you is a silver alarm clock from 2003. You bought it when you were 22, before the smartphone, before the brokerage account, before you understood that a number could become a door. The alarm clock is unplugged now. You retired 6 weeks ago with $1,401,847. That was the number. The number that was supposed to change everything. You expected relief to feel larger, maybe louder, maybe like music. Instead, you are standing in your kitchen wondering whether it is too early to have lunch. You do not know it yet, but this is the first thing freedom takes from you. The knowledge that somebody is waiting for you. Rewind. You are 44. It is 5:58 in the morning. The alarm clock rings from the nightstand. You shut it off before the second cycle begins. You have done this so many mornings it no longer feels like a decision. The room is dark. The floor is cold. Your wife is still asleep beside you, facing the wall. You sit on the edge of the bed and stare at the alarm clock. 5:58. The same red numbers. The same small plastic buttons. The same object that has been telling you when to wake up for 22 years. You hate it. You also trust it. Because when it rings, the day has already begun. There is no question about what happens next. Shower. Coffee. Keys. Traffic. Desk. The job is still the job. You dress in the dark and leave at 6:41. At 7:18, you open the spreadsheet. The retirement projection is still there. $1,400,000. The number has been circled 3 times. You have updated the spreadsheet so many times that the file name now includes the word final, followed by 6 numbers. Final. Final 2. Final new. Final actually final. The number is $1.4 million. The number is freedom. At least, that is what everyone says. You do not know it yet, but the number that frees you will not tell you what to do with Tuesday. Denise knows before anyone else. She is 2 desks away, drinking coffee that has been reheated once already. Her calendar has 37 days marked in blue. Your retirement countdown. She sees it when you leave the spreadsheet open. You're really doing it, she says. You close the laptop. Looks like it. She looks at you the way people look at someone who has escaped a building. Not jealous exactly. More like impressed and slightly offended. If I had your money, she says, I'd be gone tomorrow. You smile. The polite smile. The one you have used in conference rooms since 2007. Everyone understands leaving the job. They understand the beach. They understand sleeping until noon. They understand telling your manager that you are done. Nobody asks what happens on the 3rd Tuesday after the beach. Nobody asks what you will do when the freedom stops feeling like a reward and starts feeling like a room with no furniture. Your final balance is $1,401,847. You print it. The printer makes a mechanical clicking sound. The paper lands face down in the tray. Nobody claps. You fold it once and put it in the bottom drawer of your desk. The alarm clock is still beside your monitor. You have not looked at it all day. You do not know it yet, but the world is about to give you exactly what you asked for. Nothing. Your last day arrives on a Thursday. The office does not know what to do with it. There is a cake in the break room. The icing says good luck in blue letters. The cake is slightly dry. Someone has taken the corner piece before you arrive. At 2:13, Denise gives you a card. There are 11 signatures. 3 belong to people you have never met. 1 says, keep in touch. You will not. At 3:47, your manager asks whether you can still join the afternoon call. You say yes. The job is still the job, even during your retirement party. At 5:06, you empty the desk. Old receipts. A pen that does not work. A photograph from 2016. The silver alarm clock. You bought it in 2003 at a department store that no longer exists. It cost $18.99. You remember because you had $43 in your checking account. You place the clock inside the cardboard box. For a moment, it looks like a retired employee of its own. You carry everything to the car. Denise hugs you in the parking lot. She says she is happy for you. You believe her. Then she turns around and walks back inside. The building keeps glowing behind her. You drive home. The alarm clock is on the passenger seat. It does not ring. Month 1 feels perfect. You sleep until 9:12. The first morning you wake up confused. The second morning, you smile. By the 5th morning, you stop checking the time. You make coffee without a schedule. You take your child to school in gym shorts. At 2:40 in the afternoon, you stand outside the school wearing the same gym shorts. Another parent asks what you do. The question is automatic. You answer automatically. Nothing. It comes out wrong, like an apology. So you correct yourself. I'm retired. The other parent nods. The conversation loses momentum. You buy groceries at 11 o'clock when the store is empty. You walk through the aisles while everyone else is working. You watch a man in a suit hurry past the produce section with a phone pressed to his ear. You feel sorry for him. Then you feel superior. Then you feel something else. You are not sure what to call it. You reorganize the garage once. Then again, because the first organization did not survive the afternoon. You buy a shelf. The shelf arrives in a box that says some assembly required. You assemble it at 3:18. Nobody asks how it went. Nobody needs to know. Nobody is waiting for you. For now, that feels like freedom. Month 2 begins with the spice cabinet. You alphabetize everything. Basil, black pepper, cinnamon, cumin, 3 jars of paprika. You stand there wondering how 3 jars of paprika became evidence of a life. Denise sends you a text. Living the dream for both of us. You answer with a thumbs up. She sends a picture of her desk. A new nameplate. A larger monitor. A calendar filled with blue rectangles. You do not reply. Month 3 is the garage again. You throw away a broken extension cord. You keep the box it came in. You do not know why. Month 4 is the school pickup. The same gym shorts. The same parking lot. The same question. What do? You say, I'm retired. This time, the other parent says, must be nice. You say, it is. You both look toward the school doors. There is nowhere else to look. Month 5 is the investment account. $1,417,392. The number is higher than before. You refresh the page. $1,417,392. You refresh it again. Still higher than before. You close the laptop. The room has not changed. The portfolio is working. You are not. You do not know it yet, but money can remove pressure without creating direction. Month 6 begins at 5:58 in the morning. You wake before the alarm. There is no alarm anymore. The clock is still in the drawer. You stare at the ceiling. Your body remembers something your life no longer requires. For 22 years, 5:58 meant move. Now it means nothing. You lie there until 6:41, then 7:18, then 8:03. At 9:12, you get up. Nobody is waiting for you. The sentence has changed. At month 8, you are standing in the kitchen again. 10:47 on a Tuesday. The same mug. The same quiet. The same silver alarm clock in the drawer. You open your phone. Your portfolio is $1,423,106. You close it. You walk to the window. A delivery truck passes your house. The driver steps out with a package. He checks the address. He has somewhere to be next. You watch him leave. And then the thought arrives. Not dramatically. No music plays. You have not been needed by anyone for 8 months. Not by a manager. Not by a deadline. Not by a team waiting for your answer. Not by a company that would replace you before the month ended. The job had been exhausting, but it had also been a machine that converted your attention into evidence. You showed up. Therefore, the day mattered. You finished something. Therefore, you were useful. Someone expected an answer. Therefore, you had a reason to find one. This is what the crossing sounds like. Almost nothing. Nobody is waiting for you. And for the first time, you understand that this is not the absence of a problem. It is the presence of a responsibility. You escaped the structure. Now you have to build one. Month 11. Denise gets your old title. Her name appears on the glass office door. The title is longer than yours was. It has 2 commas. She sends you a message. First week is brutal, then another. But I kind of like it. You imagine her at 8:03 in the morning, coffee beside the keyboard, phone ringing, someone asking for a decision, someone else waiting for an answer. She is tired. She is also moving towards something. You meet her for lunch on a Wednesday. She arrives 7 minutes late. You arrive 20 minutes early. She apologizes while checking her phone. You tell her it is fine. She talks about the new team, the budget, the person who keeps missing deadlines, the meeting that should have been an email. You listen. Then she asks how retirement is going. You say, good. The answer is technically true. Your money is fine. Your health is fine. Your house is fine. You have everything people mean when they say freedom. And for one long second, you envy her. Not the meetings, not the deadlines, not the fluorescent lights. You envy the fact that her day begins before she decides whether it matters. Denise looks at the time. She has somewhere to be. You do not. Nobody is waiting for you. This time, the sentence feels like a challenge. Nobody tells you that the thing you spent 2 decades trying to escape was quietly doing more for you than the money ever could. The alarm was not just an alarm. It was a beginning. The office was not just an office. It was a place where effort became visible. The deadline was not just a deadline. It was a line separating before from after. You hated the structure because it was imposed on you, but it was still structure. And structure is easier to criticize when you have it than to create when you do not. You thought freedom meant removing every obligation. You thought the perfect life would be a life nobody could interrupt. No boss. No calendar. No one asking where you were. But a life without interruption can become a life without shape. You can spend an entire morning protecting your time and still have no idea what the time is for. That is the part nobody puts in the retirement spreadsheet. They show the balance, the withdrawal rate, the projected return. The $1,400,000 becoming $1,417,392. They do not show the kitchen at 10:47. They do not show the gym shorts at school pickup. They do not show the moment you realize you miss being expected. Not controlled. Expected. There is a difference. Month 12. You wake at 6:12. Not because the alarm is ringing. Because you decided last night that you wanted to walk before the neighborhood became loud. The decision is small. It is also yours. At 6:30 you leave the house. At 8 o'clock you sit at the kitchen table and write for 90 minutes. The work may never pay you. That is part of why it matters. At 11:15 you help your child with schoolwork. At 2 o'clock you volunteer at the library. Twice a week you meet the same 3 people there. They know your name. They expect you to arrive. Not because you are trapped, because you chose to become reliable. The investment account reaches $1,438,006. You look at the number. It is still only a number. You close the account. The important change is not that the portfolio grew. It is that you know what comes next. You are not returning to the grind. You are building a life that asks you to show up without forcing you to stay. That evening, you open the drawer. The silver alarm clock is still there. The plastic casing has a scratch near the top. The buttons are dusty. You pick it up. You remember being 22. $43 in your checking account. A job you did not understand yet. a life that had not begun to feel like yours. You plug the clock in. The red numbers blink. 12 seer. You set the time. Then you unplug it again. You do not need it to ring anymore. Somewhere right now, someone is 45, staring at a resignation letter and believing Tuesday at 10:47 in the morning will feel like the finish line. Maybe they have $1.4 million. Maybe they have $140,000. Maybe they have a number written on a napkin and a plan nobody else understands. They believe the money will solve the part of life the job made difficult. And it may solve some of it. Money can buy back time. It can remove the panic from the calendar. It can give you the right to say no. But time does not automatically become meaning. Freedom does not tell you who to become. It only removes the people who used to tell you where to be. The alarm clock was never the real enemy. It was proof that something expected you to appear. Now, you have to decide what deserves that appearance. Nobody is waiting for you. Not yet. That is not the ending. That is the first quiet space where a new life can begin. The question was never whether you could leave the job. The question was whether you could become someone worth showing up for after you left.